Today I'm going to share with you a case study where my business partner David Gass and I, Chris Yates, purchased a website and ended up getting about an 83% annualized return on that website. Now, my name is Chris Yates. My business partner David Gass and I co-founded the Internet Investment Summit, and I'm going to talk more about the summit at the end of the case study here, but let's get right into it. So the case study I'm going to share with you today is about the website dungeonmastering.com. We found this site for sale on Flippa. It was doing about $1,679 according to what the seller was claiming in revenue per month. We ended up buying the site for $5,000, which at a glance seems like a wonderful valuation. However, we're going to see that at the surface there's more to this deal than sort of meets the eye. So once we looked at the auction on Flippa, we realized that the site had actually been purchased by this person on Flippa previously. So one of the first things that we did was to go back and look at the old auction on Flippa to find out what the real story was when he originally purchased it. So the original owner of this site had built this thing from scratch and up to about 25,000 unique visitors per month and was making about $400 a month from the site. Now the really interesting thing he had done here was he had built up a 9,000 plus list of RSS subscribers, and to us that was a really big benefit because RSS subscribers tell us that his audience was very engaged. They wanted to continually get updates on the blog, and we saw that as a big asset in the site. We also saw that the person had built up a email newsletter subscriber list of about 4,500, and as we looked at it more, he really had been building a quality relationship with that list by sending quality content on an ongoing basis, and that to us also was a big benefit. And the site also had unique products like books and tools and things like that that he was selling directly to that audience. So it had a lot of the elements that to us spelled out potential. So if we look at sort of the overall stats of what the original owner had done with the site, he had owned it for about 3 years. He brought it up to about 25,000 unique visits per month, as I said. He was doing about $400 a month. Now, if we calculate revenue per unique visit, which is a great metric related to how well monetized a website is, we see that that's around 1.6 cents, 1.5 cents per visit is what the revenue he was making. And to me, in my experience, that seemed pretty low. It seems like there was some opportunity for improvement there in terms of monetization. We talked about the subscribers he had built up, and he was actually still getting new subscribers all the time, about 15 to 20 per day, which was wonderful. And we don't know what his ROI was on that because we don't know if he put money into it early on, if it was really just he made some money during the process of owning it, and then he made some money, a few $1,000s in the sale. So we don't know exactly on that, so we won't make any assumptions there. Now, when we looked at the new Flippa auction, the one that we were currently interested in, we started comparing those numbers. So let's look at the comparison of what the original owner had done versus the current Flippa auction. So the current seller, rather than basically keeping that site for a long period of time, he'd only held it for about 7 months, and during that period of time, he basically took the visits from 25,000 up to about 46,000 visits per month, which is almost double the visits. He'd taken the net income on a monthly basis from $400 a month to about $1,600 a month, so basically around 4 times the monthly income. And the way that he had done that, if you look at a couple of the things here, you'll see that he had increased his email subscriber list from 4,500 up to 6,300, and his revenue per unique visit is almost triple. And really, again, that revenue per unique visit number is a measurement of how well monetized the site is. So when we looked at this a little bit more, we realized what he was doing was basically utilizing the list that had already been built and sending out promotions to that list to monetize the list. And I think that was a great strategy on his behalf. However, there were obviously some downsides to doing that for a new owner like us, and we'll talk about that. So for us, the positives on this site was that, again, he had built a very responsive list. We did some due diligence around the list. A couple of things that we were really interested in were how responsive that list was. And we actually saw that he was getting about a 40 to 50% open rate on emails that he was delivering, which is actually pretty amazing compared to what's typical out there. And he was making around 25 to 50 cents every time he would send an email to a subscriber. Again, really responsive. There's money in that list. We liked that. The other thing we found with this site was that it was an authority website. It had a lot of good traffic, and it also had won some awards in the past, which were industry awards. And that's something that's really difficult for somebody to duplicate or fake. So we saw that again as a positive on this deal. We also saw some really interesting keywords. There were one keyword in particular the site was around page 2 or 3 on that had about 1 million searches per month. And if we knew if we could take that up to page 1, we'd see traffic really improve a lot. So we saw that as an opportunity on this deal. And again, I already mentioned the original products. We saw that as a positive. We can sell those to the list. We can sell those to new visitors. On the downside, the site's all about Dungeons and Dragons, and my business partner and I had no clue. We'd never played it. We really didn't know anything about it. However, we saw that as an opportunity to bring in some other people who had an expertise in that area and make them part of the site. But we had to take that into account in our valuation because we'd likely pay those people or give them a profit share or something like that. The other thing we looked at as a negative was that the current owner of this site had done some pretty aggressive email marketing and had done a lot of offers to that list in order to generate the revenue that he was generating. And in a way, he probably had damaged the reputation that he had with that list. So we knew going in that there may be that the things that he was doing were not sustainable, and that we may need to have to actually do a little bit of sort of recovery in terms of developing that relationship back up and adding more value to those people. And that tied right in with the revenue spike that we were seeing on his deal. He had a couple months there where he brought the revenue up to, I think, around $5,000 by doing like a 1 or 2 email series promotion. So again, we didn't see that as something that was very sustainable. So when we really looked at it, we started contacting this website owner directly as opposed to just going right in and bidding. And we did some numbers on the side, and our estimate was that the site would probably bring in around $500 a month, something like that. Was sort of our guess of where it would be. And we started talking to the site owner, developing some rapport with him, and he ended up saying that if we were going to go ahead and bid around $5,000 for the site, that he would end up ending the auction early for us and letting us have the deal, which we liked. Who knows, we might have made less money or might have been able to get it cheaper, but at the same time, we were able to end that auction early, take all the other players in that auction off of the table, and it would have went right to us. And so to us, that was a good deal. We felt confident. We knew the risks going in. We knew the opportunities. So if you look at this from a timeline, what you're seeing here is an SEMRush chart of the traffic that you see in the period of time that we owned it and sold this site. So the original sale occurred back in 2010. We purchased this site about 7 months later from the current owner at the time. We held it for around 2 years and ended up selling the site at the end of 2012. Now, so let's look at what our revenue looked like during this period of holding it. And I'm just going to start you out with the first 6 months here. Month 1 was about 200. Then in month 2, we did another email promotion because we'd proven, or the previous owner had proven that worked, and we made about $1,200 from that email promotion. Not quite as good as what the previous person had done, but still really quite a good return for us because we got 25% of our investment back, and basically in 1 month period of doing an email promotion, which we were really, really happy with. Month 3, 4, 5, and 6 sort of bounced around between $200 and $400 in revenue. And then after that, things sort of leveled off and balanced out. And actually, right around, I think, the months 14, 15 was where we got all of our money back just from the monthly income that site was generating for us. If you compare the stats here, the original owner built this site up over a 3-year period. He maybe made several $100s a month for several months, and then maybe made a few $1,000s in the sale of that site. The second owner, the person who sold it to us, owned it for about 7 months, probably made about $10,000 in owning while owning that site would be our guess. And he got probably about a 200% return on his investment. And for us, we held it for about 26 months, made about $350 a month on average, and our ROI on that site ended up being around 182%. And the difference here is that the original owner built this thing from scratch, put a ton of time into it, and he got some money out of it. The second person probably it sounded like put a really heavy effort into that site for that 7 month period. But for us, we took a little different approach and we focused more on automating that website, getting people in place to really run the site for us. And by doing that, our return with minimal amount of maintenance time ended up being about 83% annualized, which we were very, very happy with. Not too bad considering what you might get if you were to put it into, say, a savings account. So that was the case study. We were really happy with how things went with that. And that's one of the things that we're excited about in the event that we're doing in October, the Internet Investment Summit. A lot of it's going to be geared around specific case studies. I'm going to share a case study about how we purchased a website for around 6 figures, how it dropped in revenue by 80%, and how I was able to bring that thing back from the dead. So I hope to share some really good takeaways in my experience, both in making a poor decision in purchasing, but also how to improve a site sustainably over time. We also have a couple other speakers. We have a guy who built up a mobile app portfolio, sold it for around $200,000 to a hedge fund. We have another guy who built a membership website from scratch, and it's doing about $50,000 a month. And also Justin from Flip Filter is going to be sharing one of his current renovations. He's working on this renovation right now, and he's going to be sharing all the things he did over the next 6 months before the event and the results that he got during that period. So we're really excited about these case studies. I think there's going to be some great discussion, some great networking coming out of this. And so I really hope to see everyone who listened to the case study today ending up at the Internet Investment Summit in October. Really excited to have you there. I want to remind you that our early bird pricing will be ending soon, so make sure that you register for that event. And thank you for listening to the case study today.